Hey y'all, it's Dawn, and I'm so glad you're back. I've got another fun, budget-friendly DIY video for you today. This is another collab, and I'll tell you more about it in a minute. DIY number 1, sweater weather mug and topper DIY. This DIY is a twofer, 2 DIYs in 1. I used this Dollar Tree mug to make a pumpkin spice tea air tray mug. I cleaned the mug with rubbing alcohol and a paper towel to remove all the dust and oil from the mug. I created this cut file in Design Space, cut it, weeded it, and applied it to transfer paper. I laid the vinyl on the mug, and yes, some of it didn't lay right, but I worked around it. I decided I wanted to make a topper for the mug. I traced around the top of the mug onto a piece of cardboard. I then cut the cardboard just inside of the line. I did this because I didn't want the cardboard sticking out beyond the mug. I wanted it to sit on the rim of the mug. I used a Dollar Tree styrofoam ball and cut 1/4 of it off with a knife. This gave me a flat bottom on the ball. Next, I placed hot glue on the cardboard circle and placed the flat end of the styrofoam ball on top of it. I used some old Dollar Tree caulk to create the whipped cream for the topper. I would actually recommend using a new tube because the caulking will come out so much easier. I applied the caulking around the cardboard and covered the styrofoam ball. I have made toppers in the past using fresh caulking, and it was a simple process to get the ball covered. But this caulk was old and some of it was dried out, so it gave me quite a fit. I eventually got everything covered with caulk. And if you don't want your hands covered in caulk, be sure to use some gloves. And then I realized I had made a small mistake. Just remember, be sure to place some wax paper under the cardboard before you start adding the caulking. Anyway, I used a knife and not so gently lifted the topper off of the mat and placed it on some wax paper. I sprinkled some cinnamon on top and also placed some whole cloves around the topper. I added some tan Dollar Tree beads to the topper just to give it a little more dimension. I also used some of these mini pumpkins I have in my stash and stacked them on one side of the topper, and then sprinkled more cinnamon. I didn't have any cinnamon sticks, so I took one of these Dollar Tree plastic spoons that I think I got in the wedding section and cut off the spoon part. So all I was left with was the top part of the spoon. I stuck it into the caulk and part way through the styrofoam. Once the topper was dry, I brought it back in and placed it on top of the sweater weather mug. And just look at how adorable. Even though I used the old caulk, I still think it turned out pretty stinking cute. Let me know what you think in the comments. As I mentioned in the intro, this is part of the Here's Your Crown monthly collaboration with several of my crafting friends. It is a group of women who support women in our field of crafting and YouTube. The host is Connie from Connie's Creative Creations and Devin from Freckled Mom. This month's co-host is Tammy from The Rusted Willow. The object is to find a woman who has inspired you on your journey and to give them the recognition that they are due. This month's DIY has been inspired by Birch Lane by Jennifer over on Instagram. She has some amazing and creative ideas on her Instagram page. I will leave a link to her Instagram account in the description. Be sure to check her out and let her know Designs by Gaddis sent you over by commenting on one of her posts. You will also find links to the host, co-host, and this amazing playlist in the description. Be sure to check out all of the amazing talent in the playlist. Who knows, you may find another crafter you would like to be following. DIY number 2. Hello, Pumpkin House. I picked up several of these wooden houses at a flea market back in May. I've already used a few of them in other DIYs and thought I would use this one to create a fall tier tray piece. I tried painting the house with Waverly pumpkin chalk paint, but it just wasn't covering all the colors. Even after 3 coats, I could still see parts of the original house. So I decided to use Waverly ink chalk paint as my base. I painted the entire house with the black paint and dried it with my heat gun. I then went back and painted the front of the house with 3 coats of Waverly pumpkin chalk paint. I left the roof, sides, and back black. And that actually worked. You couldn't see the house through the paint now. I created my cut file on Design Space, and you can find a link to it in the description. I cut it out, weeded it, and applied it to transfer paper. I placed the vinyl on the little house, and just look at how cute! I still wanted to add something. I used a piece of twine and wrapped it around the top of the house 2 times and tied a small bow. I used a lighter and burned off all the fuzzies from the twine. And now I have the perfect little house for my farmhouse tray. This little house is just so stinking cute. I am not kidding. Let me know what you think of this little house in the comments. DIY number 3, a fall book stack. Okay guys, I saw this on Instagram and had to have one for myself. Y'all are going to love it. I have several of these pieces of wood in my stash. They measure approximately 5 inches by 7 inches. The perfect size for a wood book stack. The first book I painted with Waverly pumpkin chalk paint. I painted another with Waverly plaster chalk paint. And the last one I used Waverly antiquing wax. Using my Cricut, I printed out the words for the spine of the books. I have a link to the cut file for any Cricut users in the description. After cutting and weeding the vinyl, I used transfer tape to apply the vinyl to the spines of the books. I kept the books together so I was able to line up the words evenly on the spines. I applied a layer of Mod Podge to the spines of the books and to the top book to protect it. After the Mod Podge had dried completely, I used a piece of twine and wrapped it around the bottom of the book stack and tied a simple knot. I didn't glue the book stack together, so I can arrange it however I want, and I can also use the books individually. And just look at how stinking cute. This is the perfect addition for your fall decor, and it's so simple and easy to make. Let me know what you think in the comments below. DIY number 4, it's fall, y'all. I found this little sunshine board in my stash and thought I would make a little sign for a fall tier tray. I painted the front and sides with Waverly ink chalk paint first and dried it with my heat gun. I then decided to go back over it with Waverly plaster chalk paint and dried it with my heat gun. And for some reason, I can't find the clip of me repainting it. I created the cut file in Design Space, cut it out, weeded the vinyl, and applied the vinyl to transfer paper. I lined the vinyl on the sign and then used my Mod Podge squeegee to rub the vinyl on. The sign is adorable just like this, but I recently became a chalk couture designer, so I wanted to add some chalk couture to this sign. I have this fall stencil which I've been working with and decided to use the pumpkin in the corners of the sign. I placed the stencil on the sign and covered up the areas I didn't want chalk to get with some painter's tape. I used some chalk couture orange peel and a mini squeegee. I placed a small amount of the paste on the squeegee and rubbed it across the pumpkin part of the stencil. I rubbed the squeegee across the stencil to remove the excess chalk. I pulled the stencil up and placed it in the opposite corner and did the same thing again. I used some Apple Barrel King's Gold acrylic paint and painted the stem of the pumpkins. And just look at how stinking cute the sign turned out. I just wish I would have had matte orange vinyl instead of the gloss, but I used what I had on hand. Let me know what you think of this little sign. If you're interested in becoming a chalk couture designer, or if you just want to take a look at what chalk couture offers, you'll find a link in my description. And DIY number 5, a pumpkin inspired riser. So I found myself in a pinch and needed a riser for my riser. That just sounds funny to me, but I had 2 Dollar Tree candle holders in my stash that, when I put them together, they reminded me of a tall, skinny pumpkin. I used my Star Bond glue and accelerator and attached the 2 candle holders together. And of course, the footage is gone. But trust me, this stuff is amazing and so quick to dry. It took less than 15 seconds. You can find a link in the description if you want to check it out. I removed the stickers from both the top and the bottom, and then painted the entire pumpkin with Waverly hazelnut chalk paint and dried it with my heat gun. I used Waverly mineral chalk paint and a baby white to distress the pumpkin. When I was finished painting the pumpkin riser, I used a piece of twine I got in a pack from Walmart and wrapped it around the middle to cover up the line between the two candle holders. And now I have an adorable pumpkin-inspired riser for my risers and tiered trays. Let me know in the comments what you think. I hope these 5 DIYs have given you a little inspiration for your fall decor this year. If you are coming over from the playlist, let me know in the comments, and I hope you'll consider joining our little family by subscribing. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see y'all next time. Happy crafting!